Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, and its brand new 4K Blu-ray, courtesy of Warner Brothers. So Batman, Mask of the Phantasm was originally released on Christmas Day 1993. It was made in 8 short months in between seasons 1 and 2 of Batman the Animated Series, so that means that Batman in this film is voiced by the legendary Kevin Conroy.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
Actually, a lot of people's favorite Batman. Even though he's not live action, he has the perfect and distinct Batman voice. Just like in this film, Mark Hamill voices the Joker, and a lot of people consider Mark Hamill to be the definitive Joker voice.
You fell for the old sick Joker guy.
You know, these two did it all the way up to pretty recently, actually, and unfortunately we've lost Kevin Conroy over the last couple of years. It's very sad. He was an amazing voice actor, and it's funny because when they were looking for voice actors for Batman the Animated Series, they tested out over 100 people before they even got to Kevin Conroy. It was like a last-ditch effort to find somebody, and he stole the show. He didn't even come to Batman in the same way a lot of us do as fans. He wasn't a big fan of Batman. He was a Juilliard-trained actor. He didn't even do voice work before Batman the Animated Series, but it was a match made in heaven, and he was the perfect Batman. And Batman the Animated Series is a top 5 show for me all time. Grew up with that show. It actually came out the same year as I was born, so as the show gets older, as do I, and seeing all these actors starting to pass away and get older, it really makes me face my own mortality. But we'll always have Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, a movie that was actually supposed to go directly to video. It wasn't even supposed to get released in theaters, but Warner Brothers, at the last second, decided to give it a Christmas release, barely promoted it, and it turned out to be a box office bomb. And that's very unfortunate, because Batman, Mask of the Phantasm is easily a top 5 Batman film, one of my personal favorites. It comes in at 76 minutes long, so it's basically just season finale length in modern times, but it really does tell a compelling Batman story. And you're probably thinking, oh, it's just a spin-off of the show, and that's true, but they do a lot of cinematic stuff in this movie, right down to the opening credits, which look like they're CGI. A lot of great transitions. You know, we don't get the same opening. It's in the aspect ratio of 1.85, which is very different from the TV aspect ratio, even though on the old Blu-ray you could actually watch it in the TV aspect ratio if you wanted to. But with the extra length, they're able to put in some beautiful looking shots in this movie to make it feel like a feature-length film, and it does tell a feature-length film story, the origins of Batman. You know, many people might think Batman Begins was the first film to do it, but no, they did it back in 1993 with Batman Mask of the Phantasm. You know, we see this told non-linearly, so we're seeing flashbacks of his origin story. We're also seeing the origins of the Phantasm, a character that was created for this film. It's based on Batman Year One, but the Phantasm had never appeared in any other film or anything. Even in the comics, it was created for this film only. And spoilers, this is going to be spoilers going forward, because I do want to talk a little bit about the character herself. And I do want to talk about how two people, both suffering, can go on separate paths, whether it be the antagonist, the protagonist route, good versus evil. You know, Batman, Bruce Wayne, he's struggling. He wants to honor his parents. You know, he doesn't believe he can be happy. So what does he do? He wants to save Gotham, to protect everybody else from what happened to him, so nobody else has to feel the pain that he feels on a daily basis. So he decides, you know what, I'm going to become a superhero, a vigilante, Batman. But he did not count on falling in love, and he does with the character Andrea, voiced in this movie by Dana Delaney, phenomenally, by the way. You know, her father, he's getting caught up in some shady business deals, but Bruce Wayne and her, they're starting to fall in love. Everything is going perfectly. He just conflicted about whether or not he should fully commit to the promise he made to his parents, and that's one of the best scenes in this movie, is when he's at the Wayne gravestone. He's on his knees in the ring crying, and he's like,
"No, I made a promise, but I didn't see this coming. I didn't count on being happy."
He didn't expect to fall in love. That was something that was never in the plans for him. He wanted to save the city, but now he's getting those old feelings back. He wants to be happy, but he just doesn't know how to do it. Luckily for him, and unfortunately for him, Andrea chooses her father before herself, and, well, mainly probably for her own safety. The two of them have to go on the run, and she leaves a note for Bruce and says, you know what, unfortunately, I gotta go, and this fully pushes Bruce Wayne into becoming Batman, and you get that other iconic scene when he first puts the cowl on and Alfred looks at him in shock and fear of the person he raised becoming this person, someone he never expected him to be. You know, we see those glowing eyes, something that Deadpool and the Blue Beetle have tried to do in live action, but seeing the eyes fully white just looks incredible for the first time in the shadows. I mean, this movie is animated incredibly. And then this is how we get our origins of Batman. But now in the present day, Batman is having to deal with the Phantasm. Many people think that's Batman committing all of these crimes. And then about halfway through the movie, the Joker pops up, which does kind of feel shoehorned into the movie, but the Joker was such a huge part of the first season of the animated series that it makes all the sense in the world to include him in this story. But you could have took him out. I'm glad they didn't, because Mark Hamill just does some incredible voice work in this movie, and I absolutely love the set piece towards the end with mini Gotham City in there. That was just a fantastic idea, all concluding in a great third act fight scene, and then we get the ending that we deserve. Maybe not the happiest of endings. It's definitely not a happy ending. It's not a happy ending for Bruce Wayne or Batman, but it's the ending that the city of Gotham needs. They are going to have their protector no matter what. And this movie, for me, is very poetic. It's very beautiful. I think a lot of people write this Batman film off just because it's an animated film and they can't compare it to films like live action versions of Batman or The Dark Knight or Batman Begins. Now, do I think this movie is better than Batman 89 or Batman Begins? No, I don't. But it definitely is competing with Batman Returns and The Dark Knight as one of the better Batman films. It tells a phenomenal story, non-linearly, well-written, great screenplay, well voice acted. For the most part, there are some very questionable voice actors. Don't forget, this movie was based on a children's animated show. Even if it didn't feel like that, it was made for children. So some of the voice acting, definitely a little bit questionable, but for the most part, very well done. Thank God you get Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill in here, just hitting home run after home run in this film. But overall, for me, this is a fantastic Batman film, and if you haven't checked it out, it's only 76 minutes long, so it's not going to waste a lot of your time, and you owe it to yourself to check it out, especially if you're a Batman film and you just wrote this off because it's an animated one. I promise you, you are going to absolutely love it. But before we dive into this 4K Blu-ray review, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, lists, podcasts, and shorts, we try and do them all here on the channel, and nothing would help this channel out more than by you just simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Well, here it is, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm on 4K Blu-ray. I opted to get the slipcover version. There is also a really nice steelbook version. This will be replacing my 2017 Blu-ray that I've had, which is a pretty good Blu-ray, by the way. I don't really have too many flaws with this Blu-ray. Like I said, you were able to pick between the theatrical version, which is in the 1.78 aspect ratio, I believe, on the Blu-ray, or the TV version, which is in the 1.33 aspect ratio. On the 4K, you're only going to be getting it in the 1.85 aspect ratio with HDR10, which is pretty standard for Warner Brothers releases. They don't really ever use Dolby Vision. And you get some brand new audio tracks on here. The old DTS 2.0, which is really good, by the way. I don't want to sell that DTS 2.0 short, but it is really good. But you get a brand new remastered DTS HD 5.1. In the menu system, it's just going to say English Remastered or English Original, but that's what they are. The English Remastered is going to be that DTS HD 5.1, and I thought that audio track was phenomenal. What a great audio track. You know, I had no issues with the 2.0. I really thought it was good. That was the original track that was released in theaters. I thought it was pretty good, kind of fit what this story was trying to tell, but it really, I gotta be honest, it's definitely a pretty good upgrade to that 5.1, making great use of just, you know, all your speakers, special effects coming out of different channels. I really did appreciate that, especially since this movie has a great score, one of the best scores in any Batman film. We have people like Hans Zimmer and Danny Elfman doing scores for Batman films, but this one also has a great score, and one that everybody loves, actually. La La Land, who does produce like some great vinyls or soundtracks out there, had put out one, I believe, back in 2009 that is worth checking out. And then as far as the extras go, you only get one extra, which is one more than you had on the previous Blu-ray, but it's a really good extra. Actually, one of the better extras out there. It's a mini documentary about Kevin Conroy, about 26 minutes long. But man, what an homage to a legend. I absolutely love that featurette. You should definitely check it out. Is it worth it for this price tag alone, just for a visual upgrade and one extra? Well, let's talk about the visuals before we dive into that. So the visuals are a big upgrade over the previous Blu-ray, but not the biggest of upgrades, if that makes sense. The HDR is doing a lot of work. Warner Brothers is promoting it as they went into the original film negative, and they did this restoration from that, and I definitely think it shows on screen. It's definitely a much better looking scan than the previous Blu-ray. It does still feature some of the same flaws, but those flaws are intentional to give that film grain look to it, to really fit the style that they were going for with the animation. So all that is retained in the new 4K. You might not look at it and go, wow, that's a gigantic upgrade, and it really isn't, but like the blue on Batman's suit, the white eyes glowing on the Phantasm, or on Batman now pop a little bit more in comparison. A lot of the colors are a lot more brighter. That's one big thing you'll notice is in the 4K compared to the Blu-ray, is it's a lot more brighter just in the colors in general, or just overall. The blacks are a lot deeper. Everything that you would expect from a 4K upgrade is included here. You know, this just might not look like the biggest visual upgrade that you've ever seen, but it is still definitely an upgrade. It still looks beautiful. It's a beautifully animated film that was illustrated very much on the previous Blu-ray, on previous VHSs. No matter which way you've ever seen it, it's always looked pretty good. At least in my opinion, this animation style might not be for everybody. It's definitely unique to Batman the Animated Series and this film, but I have always appreciated it because Batman has always kind of, you know, lived in the dark, and to have that dark tone in the animation is illustrated perfectly in here, and they definitely nailed it with the HDR and the 4K transfer on here. Just don't expect to be blown away by it, but it's definitely an upgrade and one I can recommend visually. Audio-wise, it's definitely an upgrade. I would have loved some more extras on here. You know, just having one is a little bit disappointing, especially since we only get one disc, and the price of this right now, I believe, is $26 for the standard slipcover version. And I do think that's a little bit too high. I think once this gets down to about $20, that's probably the perfect range. It's really hard for me to tell you guys that it's worth it at that price, especially with only one disc, no extras, so you're only going to be getting a 76-minute film on here for that price, and it's not the biggest upgrade you've ever seen. If you have that previous Blu-ray, I definitely could say, hey, you know what, unless you're really in a rush to watch this right now, wait for a sale. It's definitely not worth it. I guess if you're worried about not getting the slipcover or you want that steelbook version, it's definitely worth it to pick it up now, especially since you'll get that exclusive packaging, which is beautiful, by the way. But, you know, at that price, for not the biggest of upgrades and only one disc, it's definitely a little bit hard to justify it, but at the $20 to $22 range, I could definitely say it's worth it. So how would I rate this on a score of 1 to 10? I would give this entire package a pretty solid 8 out of 10. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me here on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, then just get out in those streets and tell your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.